Ask Mel is brought to you by International Cricket Tours. ICT specialise in delivering overseas cricket holidays with a personal touch. So whether it's Ashes, Sri Lanka or New Zealand, if you're thinking about following England abroad this winter, look no further than International Cricket Tours.
So after day 4 of the second test between England and India, it's time to ask Mel. Yeah, good one. Don't need George.
That's way too much excitement. The end of day 4.
Yeah, tomorrow will just be a... Anyway, questions. Michael Penharley asked, can this England side contemplate holding out for a draw in this test, or is it just not in their DNA to do such a thing?
We don't do draws.
We hate draws.
We don't do draws.
And what about England?
Exactly. We've actually just come from quite remarkable press conference with Marcus Trescothick, where he was asked in many different forms if they still believe, and if this is finally the time when, you know, they shut up shop and play for the draw. It would be the first time in this era under Stokes and McCullum. And it was amazing how he managed to do the old 2-step and 3-step and 4-step kind of around that. He must have said the word challenging about 26 times. And it was really funny. I think at one point he said, we're not that stupid or that naive. And then he kind of came back around to it being challenging and going out there and being positive. It wasn't like he was saying outright, we're going to chase this down. So it's probably the only time I can think of where England have come out and sort of not said, we can chase this down. I can't think of any other time that they haven't been really forthright about it, that there's no situation that they wouldn't try and win the game from whatever situation they're in. But at the moment, they basically need a run a ball for an entire day. For 90 overs, they need a run a ball. So if they do, it will be the greatest victory in the history of cricket and will never ever be bettered again. That's, you know, so it's interesting. I think they're still going to play positively. The thing is, the way that those batters play naturally is to be positive and to look for scoring options. And I actually think if they stop doing that, that's when they will get out. So I think they'll still play the way that they play. But yeah, it's probably the closest we've got to for England kind of realising that this might be a Kilimanjaro too high.
Yeah, there was like sensible levels of bluster. That would be how I would kind of describe it. It was odd, and also there were occasions where, and this may or may not come through in the quote, sometimes being there is sometimes you sometimes do need to hear the words come out of the individual's mouth to know what they mean. There were a few times where Marcus Trescothick did isolate his own personal view from what is perceived as to be the team's. And I think that was very much when he was saying, we obviously know this is a ridiculous number. We obviously know that a draw is more preferable than losing. But at the same time, I think you're right that if they go away from their natural instincts, that's when they're going to, you're going to defend your way to defeat, basically, aren't you? I think that's ultimately, it's going to be more about the manner they go about losing. You know, if they make 100, if they're all out for 136, if they're all out for 136, having hit, 10, 11, 12, 13 boundaries along the way, rather than just soaking it up and batting out till 4 p.m. They feel that's the better way to go about losing. I guess that's the choice they're kind of making a little bit, isn't it? Yeah. It was an odd press conference.
It's going to be amazing tomorrow when we get to the point where Harry Brooks scored a run a ball 200 and Jamie Smith's come out and smashed a 60 ball 100.
It was like sort of trying to convince your therapist that everything's okay while you've got a black eye. You know, it was a bit of an odd one. Like we know what you really mean. Yeah, it was a quite strange one, but yeah, Marcus did a fine job.
The Cricketers' award-winning team brings our subscribers news, features and insight on county and international cricket every single day. You can try us now by signing up for £1. Yes, you heard that correctly, just £1 at thecricketer.com/digital.
Let's move on to Daniel Crompton's question, who's thrown things forward a little bit. Will we see a completely new attack at Lords of the three of Cook, Overton, Atkinson or Archer? I think changes are obviously inevitable, I think almost regardless of the outcome actually, because of these back-to-back tests. What's our sense of how England's attack might look in that at Lords?
Well, number one, you're expecting Jofra Archer to come in, aren't you? I mean, that's almost a given, and getting him in and around the team, seeing him out there bowling in the breaks as well. Can't see any scenario in which he wouldn't come in. So that's one. The other one that you would imagine, we were talking about this, they didn't exactly save the legs or the arms or anything else of Josh Tungd today.
Yeah, his legs are in trouble, but my goodness, his arms. they are a sight to be seen. Yeah.
So, and there's only 3 days, remember, between what's going to be the last day of this test and the start of the next one. So, I reckon there'll be a bit of an assessment about where the bowlers are. Atkinson, we don't know about. I don't know about Atkinson.
There appeared to be, either it was a misspeaking or there was an insight, a genuine insight, when Jeetan Patel was talking about changes actually a day or so ago after Bryden Cast was sort of, again, his toes were kind of hurting, as they have over the last sort of 3 to 5 months. That Atkinson was mentioned in dispatches during that, whether that was a misstep, whether he was trying to ward off questions about needing to rotate, I'm not quite sure. Clearly, obviously, we haven't seen Gus since the Zimbabwe test at all in any form of cricket. But then again, we haven't seen Jofra Archer in a test match for over 4 years. So I guess nothing's off the table. Atkinson had a great couple of tests at Lords last summer. I think that's a genuine possibility. Both of them, having played so little cricket recently, feels like a real gamble. But I think we're kind of in that territory kind of anyway a little bit with England's attack, aren't we?
Well, I mean, it is just amazing. I think I might have made this point that, we came into this test talking about can India take 20 wickets in a test, and we've gone away going, well, England, they haven't been able to take 20 wickets in this test ultimately. And it's quite fascinating too that all of the England wickets to fall have fallen to two bowlers, and all with the new ball in Mohammad Siraj and Akashdeep. It must be pretty rare for those particular circumstances. I know we've had bowlers who've, taken 8 or 9 wickets, just one bowler do that, but to have it basically be two bowlers and all with the new ball, and that's the only thing that's sort of interesting tomorrow, and that Marcus Trescothick did point out as well, that there's probably about 10 or 15 overs of the hard ball left, and then after that it still looks pretty good for batting. There was a little bit of rough out there that Joe Root was trying to bowl into, but I don't know that those questions would India miss Kuldeep Yadav, and especially having that rough to work with. It's not so much of a question now. Again, it would be very funny if it was.
Yeah, we've got a question coming up about the bowling, but it is amazing how the narrative has flipped on both sides. I think we really worried how India were going to come close to taking 20 wickets without their superstar, and suddenly look like they're only going to need 2 of them to do so in this test. And now they've got him, potentially coming back, and how that's all going to work out. Moving on to the England attack, because it is everyone's favourite subject. Reece Benjamin, hello Reece, has asked, how bad will the bowling have to get before England call Jack Leach?
Call him what? What do you want to call Jack Leach?
No, I've had to edit out the rest.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Is there a spinner who wouldn't have ended up on the wrong side of that today? I don't know. Maybe, we can't say. There's always the case that everyone who's not in the side looks better, their reputation's enhanced, but he remains a conundrum, and it's been like this with Shoaib Bashir, right? They've invested so heavily in him. He said during that Zimbabwe test, when he did take all those wickets and he had a really good game in the end, that being in the England side was his happy place. So it didn't really matter what had been happening down at Somerset, or not happening as the case may be for him, that this was his happy place and he was sort of bouncing around. That was pretty tough. That was pretty tough out there today. And I just don't know. I don't know at what point they say, all right, is the high release point, is the high ceiling, is it enough? But where do they go? How many other spinners do they really have knocking at the door who are going to be able to be attacking spinners as well as being defensive spinners, as well as not just giving away a lot of runs? But can we just say, he did take a wicket today, and it was not a case of someone holing out in the deep.
Yeah, cow corner unused.
Hey?
Yeah.
And that was Shubman Gill, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. What a prize scalp on 161. Absolutely great. Yeah, I mean, what else can we really add on that? I mean, it's the conundrum. We're going to have to answer this question probably again tomorrow, and probably on the first day of the third test and the second day and stuff. I guess it is an unanswerable conundrum at this very stage, isn't it? It's very, very difficult. I think for what it's worth, Shane Warne would have gone the same way today. I think Murali would have gone the same way today. This pitch is not conducive to spin. Maybe that's why Kuldeep Yadav isn't playing. Maybe India knows something that the rest of us can all see, but we're refusing to accept. And frankly, secondly, this pitch is impossible. I mean, everyone's gone around. England have conceded the second most runs they've ever conceded in a Test match. Like, I think anyone would have gone round. So yeah, okay, maybe Jack Leach would have a better comeback ball than Sher Bashir, 21-year-old Sher Bashir would. But I think that's a difficult argument to make on a surface like this. Would be my view. They're clearly fully invested. They're going 2-footed in with Sher Bashir. Nothing's going to change there. And I guess if you're an England persuasion, you just have to hope something's going to change soon. We're going to go with our concluding question. Occidental Tourist asks, batting records aside, the critical difference between both sides has been the new ball bowling. Well, it's good to know that someone watched yesterday's video when I made that exact point, but we'll just throw that aside. I'm sure it was pretty obvious. Has there been a more toothless English bowling attack in recent memory? Well, in 1930, when they conceded 1,121 runs, I can confirm, and I was there. I watched the highlights just on YouTube just a minute ago. They really got casted around. That's the most runs England any team England have. So yeah, I mean, clearly, yes.
It's a bit gummy. It's a bit gummy. Isn't it? A bit gummy. The funny thing is, as we said, so India have only had 2 bowlers who've made incisions. They're basically a vampire. It's got 2 fangs. There are England like this, and India have got like this. That's basically how this test has worked out on a very flat pitch.
I think it's unfair to have a genuine go at some of this. I don't think there's been lots and lots of bad bowling here, have there? I don't think. I mean, how many chances have there been? I mean, we had a couple of drop catches today off Rishabh Pant, and they were slightly regrettable, particularly the Zach Crawley one, which was frankly straight into the biggest hands on the pitch. Slightly unfortunate that the bucket had holes on this occasion, but realistically, I mean, I think we're on a hiding to nothing if we're really going to take apart this attack. As much as we perhaps might be tempted to.
Yeah. Flat pitch. See you tomorrow.
I think I might skip it though, to be honest.